Welcome back to another episode of the Jessica Alla podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Alla. And today's episode is part 3 in the Why Do I series. And today's question is, why do I self-sabotage?
Why do we destroy the very things we prayed for?
Why do some of us destroy or sabotage the things that we've prayed for, the things that we've been working towards, the things that we've been trying to manifest? Like, why do there's this phenomenon with so many women that I work with where they reach their goal weight. They've worked really hard and they reach their goal weight. And then all of a sudden they freak out and they go back to their old patterns, or they're manifesting safe, healthy love and they meet a beautiful, kind partner and they feel safe love for the first time. And then all of a sudden they're sabotaging, they're pushing that person away. Why does this happen? And the reason that I believe this happens is because we haven't done the underlying work that allows us to accept and hold the thing that we've been desiring. And what I mean when I say that is that through sheer force, you can lose the weight, you can achieve the dream body, you can somehow manifest the dream guy, the dream partner, but you're not able to hold it if there are these subconscious beliefs and past traumas and past experiences that tell you you don't deserve it. You don't deserve this. You don't deserve this body. You don't deserve this love. You don't deserve it because you have this evidence that says you don't deserve it because you did this and you did that, and because this person did this, and bad things always happen to you. And for a women, especially when it comes to the weight thing, there's also a lot of protection there. There are so many women that I've worked with sexual trauma who find themselves getting into feeling really fit and healthy and strong and getting their dream bodies, and then all of a sudden they feel unsafe because they're being looked at, they're being seen, and they feel uncomfortable being looked at in that way because they haven't healed and processed their sexual trauma. And sometimes actually what's drawing them to get to that point is this desire to be wanted. But this desire to be wanted also conflicts with this desire, with this feeling that being wanted and being desired isn't actually safe. And we can hold two truths at once, and we can have these beliefs that conflict where it's like, I want this, but also it doesn't feel safe. And I want this, but also it doesn't feel possible. And so we're kind of like, we have these like fights with ourselves. Everyone could probably relate to like the angel and the devil on the shoulder, like weighing things up and telling you different messages and kind of being pulled into different directions. That can also be your mind. It can be your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Want this, my higher self wants this thing, wants this life, and my subconscious is telling me that's not possible for you because X, Y, Z, because of these past experiences that have happened. My body would often do this for me, sometimes without me even realizing. And this was where I realized that nervous system work needs to be brought into this equation, because I could push through sheer force. I could, even if if my mind would say to me, this isn't possible for you, it is possible. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. But it didn't feel safe for my body. And I would push and I would push and I would push. And then my body would burn out. My body would scream at me to stop because it didn't feel safe for my nervous system. So then my sabotaging looked like constantly getting sick, which felt frustrating because it was pulling me back from my goals. But it was my nervous system making me sick so that I couldn't feel unsafe, so that I would feel a little bit more safe. And so I would like pump the brakes on all of these things that I was doing. But I've also experienced it in love, in wanting safe love and having safe love, and then not really knowing how to be in that and with that and experience that because it's this new foreign experience. And our brains and our bodies are designed to reject anything that feels foreign. We are designed for consistency and for what we know has happened in the past. We know we can survive it. It feels safe. Whereas if there's something new, we don't really know how to navigate that. And that change feels unsettling to the subconscious and to the body because it's like so much uncertainty. And, that there's that saying of like, people will stay in a familiar pain rather than risking an unfamiliar like pleasure or joy or ecstasy or love or whatever. They would rather stay in the familiar pain because the familiar pain feels more safe than any hint of the unfamiliar. So what happens is the self-sabotage process is you stepping into what you said you wanted and it feeling unfamiliar because you've never had it before. And then the brain and the body going, doesn't feel right. And when it says to you, this doesn't feel right, a lot of the time that's your trauma, your conditioning, your past experiences coming up. And it's not that it's not right. It's just that it's different. And we confuse that messaging and we think, oh, this isn't right. Not the right relationship, not the right job, not the right body, not the right whatever it is. And we pull back and we come back to what we know and what we've always known because it feels more comfortable and more safe. But the truth is, it doesn't really feel safe, or it isn't really safe in the long term, because a lot of the time it's that higher self that wants more, and we're miserable in the toxic relationship and in the unhealthy body and in the miserable job that we're in. That feels safe, but it also feels unsafe in that you start to lose hope that things are ever going to get better for you. So we have to look at it from both sides and know that if it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would chase after their dreams. There is an uncomfortable period of growth in anything. If you are going to gym, there's going to be a period where your body is really sore, where your muscles are getting stronger. I always think about like detoxing. Like detoxing is so good for your body, but when you're detoxing, it feels awful. Toxins coming up and out of your body make you give you headaches and head spins and migraines, and you can vomit. Like there is so much to be said for going through the discomfort to get out the other side. Because like I said, if it was easy, everyone would just wave their wands and everything would be magically perfect. So we have to understand that there is a level of discomfort, but also noticing and getting really like able to identify, is this just a self-sabotaging pattern, or is this actually not right for me? Is this actually not the right decision? And dating is the perfect example, because I've worked with so many women who have come to me wanting to leave a toxic relationship. They've left the relationship and then they want safe love. They want safe, healthy love. And they meet a guy or a woman, or they meet their partner and they start to experience it and they say, it's incredible. You know, they're like this and they're like that, and I've never felt this way. And then they come to me within a couple of weeks or months and say, oh, I got the ick, or they did this, or they said that, and they're a bit boring. I'm not sure if they're right for me. And they come up with these reasons and these excuses to sort of move away. And a lot of the time what we find is that this is the subconscious mind just going, I don't know what to do with this. I'm going to kick up all of these random excuses. You don't know that they're random because they feel really legitimate to you. That when your mind tells you something, it feels real. It feels very real. And this is why working with somebody who can work with your subconscious and who can see behind the patterns. Like I can't even call myself out. And I've been doing this for 15 years. Like what I think is the problem and then what is actually the problem when I go to see a therapist and work with them is actually very different, because we convince ourselves that we know what the answer is, and we convince ourselves that whatever that thing that we've been thinking is true. They are boring. They're not my type. And you go to this therapist and they shift these beliefs for you, and all of a sudden you realize that was your protective mechanisms. Now, what is it actually protecting you from? And this is really the base of everything. When you think about self-sabotage, I want you to think about protection. And so what is the behavior that is pulling you backwards? What is it protecting you from? So if we use the example of safe love, I know that for me, there was this fear that like, if the good guy turned out to be bad, there would be no one left. Because I know that shitty guys are going to be shitty, but if a good guy is shitty, that felt like there's no options left. So for me, it was just like this fear of, if you allow this relationship to happen and they show you that this is the reality, you'll end up alone. So the fear is ending up alone. The self-sabotaging process is I'll make myself alone and leave the nice, good guy and just become a self-fulfilling prophecy and make myself alone because then I'm in control of the situation. And we do this all the time. We make the bad thing happen to ourselves so that we're in control. Because at least if we did it, it's our fault. And at least if we did it, we're in control of it. We don't want to be shocked. We don't want to be surprised, and we don't want to release any control to somebody else. Similarly with, self-sabotaging when it comes to like food and fitness goals, it's like, what's the fear that could happen there if you get that body? And like I used the example before of, I might attract more attention, and they might have a belief that they're not worthy, or that, they're not lovable. And so it's like, well, if I attract more attention, I might end up dating somebody and then they might break up with me and it might make me feel like I'm unlovable again. And so I'm just going to put on the weight and avoid all of that drama. It's like people who don't date because they don't want to get their heart broken. You end up breaking your own heart by being alone forever and assuming that everyone's going to break your heart. So we do this thing where we're the ones that hurt ourselves so that no one else can do it. And if we actually look at, okay, why am I self-sabotaging? What am I protecting myself from happening? If that thing actually did happen, then we start to get some movement. Then we start to, okay, now I've healed that past relationship that made me believe that I'm going to be alone forever because he told me that. Now that I've removed that and healed that and processed that, I actually believe that love is possible. And so when I go out and meet the nice guy, I believe it's possible and I don't push it away. We have to find the deepest source and the meaning behind whatever it is that this self-sabotaging pattern is protecting us from. There's also a lot of self-sabotage that happens around trauma, because what happens is all that a traumatized person wants, or anybody who's suffering, it doesn't have to be intense trauma, anybody who is suffering with anxiety or depression, all that they actually want is this peace. They want this calmness in their body. They want a life that feels good, and they just want to be in the flow of life. And what happens though is that a lot of self-sabotage for this person, and this was me for a very long time, happens because safety feels unsafe. And what I mean by that is that if you're in a regulated state, we have this window of tolerance, which is our ability to handle the stresses of everyday life. And if you're living in this window, which means this is your window of regulation, and you're in here all the time, and you get a little bit stressed, but you can manage it, and you get a little bit low in the afternoon, but you can manage it, and you're in this window, you're able to think clearly, you're open, you're regulated. But for somebody who has had long-term chronic stress, they're used to operating in a fight or flight state because they think that because of all of this past trauma and these past experiences, these stressful periods in their life, they think that, or the body learns that and the subconscious learns that you need to be stressed and you need to be activated and in fight or flight so that your senses are heightened, so that your hearing is sharpened, your vision is sharpened, so that you're aware and ready for anything that could attack at any moment. There's this feeling when you start to heal and you start to move into this regulation and into this window of tolerance and this flow state, there's this feeling of like, I'm not safe now because I'm not ready for anything. And if you have that feeling when you relax, that you can't relax because you're not ready and because you feel like you constantly need to be doing something, that to me is a sign that your body and your nervous system and your subconscious mind is running from an invisible threat. So what happens is we sabotage being happy and being in just an easy relationship that just kind of coasts by, and having an easy job, or just life being easy and in the flow. We make it harder. We put extra stress and extra pressure on ourselves, and we start fights with our partner, and we make life chaotic so that we can keep ourselves in a fight or flight or sympathetic activation in this state so that we can feel protected. And it's not self-sabotage, it's self-protection. Sabotage is a really harsh word because it makes it feel like you're the one that's doing it, where actually it's an unconscious thing that happens. It's an unconscious process of you don't even know that you're doing it. And the amount of times that I've put myself back into fight or flight, and it's taken me quite a while to realize that I'm back there again. I cannot count. And I think that I'm doing well. And then I go, I've done it again. I've flicked over and I'm in fight or flight and I'm in survival. I need to bring myself back into regulation. And when I do, there is an uncomfortableness in that every time, because when you're regulated, you're also able to process whatever it is that fight or flight allows you to avoid, same as dissociation. They allow you to avoid feeling uncomfortable feelings because you're fully checked out. You're either too busy or you're fully checked out and dissociated. What happens again is the self-sabotage, as we'll call it, which it's not sabotage, it's you avoiding feeling your feelings, you avoiding the uncomfortableness of the situation, and you not being able to handle a little bit of change and things being different and things being safe and comfortable. The way that we, like when we start to think about this, it's a combination, as always. I feel like a broken record, but as always, it's this combination of working with the nervous system so that the nervous system is getting stronger, so that that window of tolerance is getting wider, so that our ability to handle the stresses of everyday life and to stay in the flow state is bigger and bigger. But at the same time, we can't stay in that window if we have all of these beliefs saying no one likes you and you're worthless and you're pathetic and you're a loser and you're disgusting. And if these thoughts are constantly coming into our mind and they're paired with these feelings of guilt and disgust and anger and rage and sadness and grief, then all of those emotions and those subconscious beliefs are just going to pull us back into those old patterns, into fight or flight, into dissociation, into, busyness, into keeping busy to distract ourselves from whatever it is that the wound is causing us to run away from. And it can be really hard for you to determine the difference between, intuition and survival, because survival can disguise itself as intuition, especially if you've been there for a long time. And a lot of women will come to me and say things, especially in dating, like, my intuition's just telling me like he's not my person. And I was like, how did that intuition communicate with you? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I just started to feel really scattered, and I was thinking about it heaps. And it's like, okay, intuition doesn't communicate with you by overthinking. Intuition is clear, it's direct, and it feels calm when it hits you. It would be like, hey, this isn't my person. This doesn't feel right for me. It was a very calm, clear message. If your head is spinning, and I have a friend who, she'll probably listen to this episode and laugh, but I have a friend who was like, I'm a bit taller than him and he's a bit younger than me, and he did this thing and he did that thing, and she had all of these reasons, listed all of these reasons, and she was in a bit of a state of is it right? Is it not right? And I was like, your reaction to this tells me that it's protection, because if it was intuition, it would be calm and it would be clear. So if you're kind of overthinking and stressing yourself out and going around in circles, that's a protective mechanism. And it's protecting you from feeling, it's protecting you from actually doing the thing, and it's pulling you back into fight or flight. Intuition is clear and calm and direct. What helped me to stop finally sabotaging the good was, I'll let you know. No, I'm kidding. What helped me was, it's a work in progress, because I can still sometimes find myself sabotaging the good. I can still find myself doing these things where something that I've always wanted is finally starting to come to fruition, and it feels uncomfortable, and I find myself pulling back, and I find myself reverting back to old patterns, and changing whatever it is that's working. I change it and I pull it back so that it stops working again. And I have to become really aware. I'm so much better at this now, but self-awareness is the number one thing here. Realizing that these are the things that can happen, and they happen quite quickly and unconsciously. So things like journaling, like weekly journaling, even daily journaling, like becoming really aware of what your thoughts are and where they're leading you, because every single thought that you have is leading you somewhere. The where you're at today in your life is the result of the thoughts that you've had yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. If you want to change where you're going, you have to change your thoughts, and it's going to take a period of time for those thoughts to compound into new experiences. But what happens is we move down one path and we start, new beliefs, new thoughts, new experiences, and it feels uncomfortable, and we revert back to the old controlled way. So it's going to take a period of time where you're so hyper aware of your thoughts and you're thinking, okay, are the thoughts that I'm having today leading me to where I want to go to? And why are these thoughts trying to sabotage me? Where are they coming from? Where did I learn that? Where did I learn that I don't deserve that? Or where did I learn that I should feel guilty or that I'm disgusting, awful, horrible, whatever the words are? Where did I learn that? Where did that come from? And actually starting to challenge those thoughts and find the subconscious beliefs, because if you don't challenge the thoughts, they'll continue to rule your life and you'll continue to stay where you are. So we want to start to become highly self-aware, whether this is journaling, whether this is just setting an alarm on your phone to pause and think, what was I just thinking about? What was I thinking about myself just then? What was I thinking about life? Because like studies have proven that like 99% of your thoughts today are almost exactly the same as the thoughts you had yesterday. And that seems wild. It's like, nah, well, I have a different day every day. No, the way that we perceive our day and the way that we think about our day and the people in our life and ourselves is the same every day. It doesn't change. And so we have to consciously make an effort to change that if we want to stop self-sabotaging. And it involves going deeper into who you are, why you do what you do, and looking at those subconscious beliefs. So I want you to start to become really aware of the pattern of things are really good, things are really bad. Things are really good, things are really bad. And when things are really good, noticing that they're really good and noticing that you're probably going to make them bad very soon. And looking at, okay, things are feeling really good now. There's this feeling in me of like good things don't last. First of all, that's a subconscious belief. Cross it out, remove it. Get rid of that subconscious belief. Good things don't last. But there's going to be this feeling. And there's going to be this evidence that good things are always followed with bad things, or good things happen, but then I always sort of fall after that. We want to be analyzing those thoughts, and we almost want to be expecting that our subconscious is going to try and sabotage, expecting that we're going to be expecting something bad to happen so that we can go, okay, I'm feeling really good and I'm going to try and maintain this. What have I been doing? How have I been feeling? And starting to sort of almost anticipate that our subconscious is going to try and pull us back, but becoming really self-aware of like, all right, I'm going to become really aware now of the thoughts that I'm going to have over the next 1 to 2 weeks that are going to try and pull me back. And I'm going to use them as information for what needs to shift so that I can maintain this level of love, fitness, health, joy, wealth, whatever it is. And there's also just a little reminder here for me and for you and for everybody that it's impossible to always be happy. If we want to manifest wealth or success in our business and we finally hit that goal and then we go a little bit backwards, that we're failing. But actually fluctuations and seasons and cycles in life is completely normal. So the version of you that can reach your fitness goals and, be happily in love might be that's not, that feeling of overwhelming, overflowing love for your partner is not going to be there all the time, because it's not supposed to, because things do move in cycles. And we forget that, without the dark, there is no light, and that everything is polarizing. If everything was just warm and cozy and comfortable all the time, we would take it for granted. We wouldn't even know that it was feeling good, because we would have no comparison. We have the lows and we have the highs, and ideally they're not like this. Ideally they're not so up and down and crazy, but we still do have to experience those off days to appreciate the good days. We still are going to have days where we're not sticking to our goals or where we're pushing our partner away. But what matters to me is really the drastic level that you're doing that to. For instance, there's people who are so deeply in love and then they're cutting their partner off, they're breaking up, they're pushing them away, they're done. And this was me as well. And then over time, it's like, I'm aware now that I'm trying to push them away, but I'm not going to go to that extreme level because I've done that deeper work and I've done healing through those layers. So now it looks like a little bit of a push away, a realization, I'm pushing away a little bit, working through a little bit of layers and then leaning back in. There's still this push and pull. There's still these ups and downs, but they're not so chaotic. They're not so reactive. They're not so big. those ups and downs are still normal. And if you think that you're doing the healing work to get to this point where you are love and bliss and gratitude and joy and floating around every day, and you've got your goal body and your goal life and your beautiful house and all your things, and your kids are perfect every day and whatever it is, if you if you think that that is achievable, you're setting yourself up for failure, first of all. But that's not how it works. Being healed isn't actually, healed isn't actually about not having any bad days. It's about how do you handle things when they come at you? Do you have the capacity to deal with the challenges that life is going to actually bring to you? Life is going to challenge you, especially if you're always wanting to grow, because there's, from here to here, there's another version of you. And then from here to here, there's another version of you. There's always another version, and there's always a bit more uncomfortableness that we're going to be going through if we want to grow. But even just as a human, there's things that are happening in the world that are awful that you're going to see and experience and come across, and they're going to affect you. There's, things that might happen in your family. There's always going to be things that are happening, but it's what is your capacity to deal with that? What is your capacity to move through that? Does it derail you? Does it fully knock you out? Does it derail you? Do you check out? Do you dissociate? Do you go into fight or flight? Does it affect you for months or years? Or can you feel it and experience it and move through it? And this is where the healing work helps you to, you're not sabotaging. When you stop that self-sabotaging process, you're not going high highs and low lows. And this is, we're all in and we're all out. We're black and white. When we're using that behavior to fuel us, it's so polarizing. Whereas once you start to heal, you'll find that it becomes a little bit smoother. That process becomes a little bit smoother. And instead of being, I was the sort of person that I would be like, okay, I'm going to get into running, but I'm going to run 10Ks every day. And I would smash myself and get so fit, and then I would stop, and then I wouldn't run for years. If you use that as the example for sort of self-sabotaging in these highs and lows, it looks like I'm just going to run when I feel like I want to run. I'm going to trust myself that I'm going to run a few times a week because I love it and it makes me feel healthy and strong and free, coming from like a good, clean place. But it's like, if I miss a day, it doesn't matter. And if I do 4Ks one day and 6 the next, it doesn't matter, because I'm running, because I'm moving forward in life, and I've got this flow, and I'm moving with the way that I'm feeling and with the seasons of life. Whereas if you're like, I'm going to do 10Ks every day, you're going to run yourself into the ground pretty quickly. So it's this understanding that we don't want to be going so drastically high and low and all in and all out. It's about consistency. And we can only achieve that consistency when we stop doing the highs and lows and the black and white thinking. And we cannot stop doing the highs and the lows and the black and white thinking until we learn how to be regulated and live in flow state. And we can't be in flow state and live in that space until we've healed our trauma, until we've healed the past experiences that stop us from staying there, that until we heal our nervous system, until we heal the subconscious beliefs that cause us to go into fight or flight. There might be some of you who are listening who think, I don't go into fight or flight. I don't have a lot of trauma. Fight or flight is not just reserved for people with like a lot of childhood trauma. There's a lot of women I see who are busy and rushing and stressed, and they can't come down, and they've got anxiety, and they're using rescue remedy, and they are just go all the time. That is fight or flight. That's fight or flight energy. That's sympathetic activation. And you do that for long enough. You do that for even career women who climb the corporate ladder, and they're working long hours, and then they're going to busy social lives, and they're stressed and rushed, and they're always telling you how busy they are. That after a couple of years is going to burn your nervous system down. It's going to bring that window of tolerance down so small that you can't handle the stresses of everyday life. And so you're going to go into this high and low and these ups and downs. That also is something that is going to require healing to get you back into the flow state. So when everything feels too good to be true, I want you to think about those words. And I want you to think about, where did you learn that anything can be too good to be true? Where did you learn that anything can be too good to be true? And too good to be true for who? And for what existence? And for, sometimes I think about the infinite possibilities. I think about quantum physics and the field and how we are, you break anything down on an energetic level and it's all connected. The entire universe, it's been scientifically proven. And we're like floating in space on this planet, mostly blue planet surrounded by water. Like, it's kind of wild as it is. If you really zoom out and think about it, like the universe, the world, the way that we're floating around in space, like it's all pretty wild. Why isn't it possible that it could be too good for you? Why isn't, like, is it actually too good to be true? Or do other people have exactly what you have and they're fine with it and they accept it? And is there even more that you could actually allow into your life? I think the too good to be true thinking is a sign of your subconscious beliefs and your limited potential and what you think is possible for you. There is no such thing as too good to be true. There are plenty of people out there. You can, find some expanders, which expanders are people who allow you to expand your version or your reality of what's possible for you. Find somebody who you feel similar to, who has done what you want to do, who has what you want to have, and use them as evidence that it's possible, because the reality is there's no such thing as too good to be true. Not in the quantum field, not when it comes to energetics. There is infinite possibilities. And the moment that you think this is too good to be true, you change your vibration into fear of loss, fear of losing the things that you've manifested. And once you change into fear, inevitably you do lose the things, and then you solidify this belief of, see, I lost it all. It was too good to be true. So if you can think this feels too good to be true, but it's not, I created this, I deserve this, this is my life now, and you can keep moving forward with the level of excitement, that's where you start to see a lot of changes. If you are listening to this and you're wondering, how do I start to actually move through those subconscious beliefs? How do I regulate my nervous system? How do I find these unconscious blind spots? How do I start to widen my window of tolerance? How do I actually stop the self-sabotaging when it comes up? This is why we created Trigger to Thriving. It literally takes you through all of these stages, not just through healing the nervous system and creating safety and healing the trauma or healing the past experiences. It's taking you through those layers of awakening the unconscious, of awakening what you didn't even know was there, the beliefs that you wouldn't even believe are tucked away in your subconscious mind, quietly controlling your life every day. We're going through those layers, and then we're going through the fears you have of like being confident, being seen, showing up, asking for more, receiving more, all the way through to like creating this flow and ease in your life and learning how to stay in that flow state. So I take you through, it is self-led. I take you through that whole journey. So for those of you who are interested, it's called Trigger to Thriving. You can find it on my website at www.jessicaella.com.au. And I am looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.